Hello again and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is from r/AskReddit. What's the nicest thing you've done without telling anyone? Before we move on, I want to thank you for watching my video. And now without further ado, here we go. My friend had serious depression and I was extremely worried about the guy. I told him I would support him through therapy. That there's a scheme where you can get treatment for free providing you are serious enough. Well, there was no scheme. I paid for the whole thing so he would get top quality service. He went through the initial assessment and never returned. I don't mind losing the money, but I just wish my friend would come back. One of my best friends is disabled and has to get around in a wheelchair. This means that, when we go to a cafe near her house, she can't cross the road at the intersection because there is a curb. Instead, we have to stop traffic at a driveway just down the street. After 6 months of following up with the city maintenance department, they finally removed the curb. One day, I went to coffee with her and noticed they had fixed it. Her expression was priceless. She still doesn't know I arranged it. My company has raffles every once in a while. You earn tickets to it through your stats. I always put my best friend's name on my tickets before I drop them in the hat. She often has a hard time in her home/personal life. The one time she won, it put her over the moon. Smile. No idea if it was my ticket or hers, but it makes me feel good to do it for her. Once I left a piece of candy in a little cup in my mother's house. I had it given to me as change at a store, but I didn't want it. I put it there because reasons. After that, a few days later, my little niece was there, found the candy and started asking everyone who stored there. No one knew I wasn't home, so she thought it was a magical cup. I heard this story and never said a thing. So after that I always put candy in the cup. Not every day, but from time to time. And my niece has the idea still, that it is magic and her face lights up every time she finds something. It's a nice sight, haha. I live next to an older man in his 80s. He still mows his yard, but I never saw him weed whacking. Now I wait until he mows to mow my yard and weed whack both our properties. He's seen me out there and has smiled and waved, but I always have headphones on, so we've never really talked. I also spray both lawns as we have a big creeping Charlie problem. During the holidays my kids and I would pick a family that was struggling, usually a classmate or friend, and buy Christmas presents for their family. This would include an outfit, a toy/game or two. We would also put together a bag of groceries. We would put everything on their porch and leave. Sometimes one of us would doorbell ditch so the goodies wouldn't sit all night. These were often families that wouldn't ask for help. My kids never told, even when the recipients would talk about their surprise. Only one time did we ever disclose it was us. About 15 years later my daughter posted something on Facebook and it was figured out by one of the recipients. She was surprised and said that we have no idea how much that meant to her family. It helped them through a really hard time. We were not well off and we had to sacrifice as a family to help another family. It is a life practice that has stuck with my kids. Doing good is its own reward. At 16, my first job was at a grocery store. I worked a pretty set schedule, mostly weekends because I was in school. One Sunday, I noticed an older man buying some canned cat food and a small package of discounted meat. So I rang him up and started small chit-chat. I noticed him every Sunday doing the same thing. He reminded me of my grandfather who I had just lost 2 years previous. I came to find out that he had lost his wife some years ago and lived alone. I asked him if it would be okay, because my mom always made a lot of food, if we could bring some over sometime. He said yes with the most precious smile. So every Sunday, after work, my mom and I would take him a big plate full of food. He was so kind and sweet. He lived in a big kind of run-down house. A weird friendship, probably 50 years difference in age. No one but me and my mom ever knew about it. I have this grumpy old lady in my house that lives in the 4th floor, one below mine. She always gives us dirty looks, used to always complain about the noise I made when I was younger. Now about the noise my lit sister makes, and is just generally rude. For some weeks the elevator in our house wouldn't work, so we had to walk up every day. And one day I saw her trying to carry her bags up the stairs, so I decided to do that for her. She seemed really surprised and kind of grumbled a thanks. After that she was much nicer to me, lol. Heard of a young mother who had just escaped an abusive relationship with pretty much nothing but the clothes on her back. A women's shelter got her set up with an apartment and some basic clothes, but no air conditioning. A heat wave rolled in, and she had to take her toddler to the ER for heat stroke. Abusive ex tried to invoke CPS to get the child taken away, mainly to use as a hostage to try and keep the woman in his life. This guy doesn't truly care about his children, he is like 6, custody of none, and is behind on child support for all of them. I bought a window air conditioner and left it outside her door while she was at work. Followed up on the story through Facebook. The air conditioner was perfect, everyone survived the heat wave without incident, ex's CPS claim was dismissed, child remains with the mother. I paid for my good friend's wedding dress. She called me one day and was very sad because her parents, who were and are still weird AF, backed out on paying for the dress because they hated her venue, gorgeous southwestern ranch in the country instead of in town. So I went down to the bridal store, swore the staff to secrecy when I paid and went on about my day. I was a poor college student, the dress was $700. I spent my book, supply, lab money on it. It took me a while to make it back up but it was 100% worth it and I'd do it again. We have been friends for 24 years. This was almost 15 years ago. She has no idea. I hope to keep it that way. I always fake laugh at people's terrible jokes because I know how awkward it is to have someone telling you, dude, you're not that funny. Wife don't even know. I was at a store years ago. I just got big workers' compensation from being pretty badly hurt at work but not life-threatening. I was back at work. We was never in financial trouble as I had Aflac that paid me while off of work. It was around Christmas time. I went to layaway department, paid probably 3 or 4 layaways off, about maybe total of $2K in all. I specifically asked for ones that was almost ready to be canceled due to late payments. I then told them to add a $200 on each of them gift card for food only. Yes, you could do this back in the day. I don't know if you still can. Wife asked where money went. I told her I bought myself something. She never questioned it. This last Sunday I helped a guy. I was downtown walking my puppy getting some nice pictures of her when I came across a key fob for a car. So I just walked around that area until I saw a guy stressing out next to the same brand of car. I asked him, "Are you looking for something?" And he said he couldn't find his keys. Handed them to him, and said my pup saw them. He got super happy and I just said to have a good day and then went to take more pictures. If I remember right, that key fob would have been close to $200, and it wasn't a super fancy car either. That could have been a month's worth of food to him. My sister's ex-boyfriend was raising money to buy my sister LASIK eye surgery because she has vision bad enough that if she dropped her glasses she would have trouble finding them. They had a GoFundMe thing set up. They had raised about half of what they needed from friends and family, but it was only a few days before her birthday. I had some extra cash and all my expenses paid for that month, so I anonymously donated the remaining 40-ish% that was needed. It was 1 a.m. I woke up because I heard car noise outside of my window. There was a guy stuck with his car stuck in snow. I grabbed few shovels and went out. It was minus 30 degrees Celsius. We managed to get car out from snow while I was pushing. He thanked me and we have never met since. Didn't even woke up my fiancée or told anyone. For some reason I just felt bad for the guy and decided to help. I found some guy's wallet on the side of the road at school and managed to find his email in the school directory. Got it back to him in just a few hours after emailing him. He said he wouldn't have been able to take his 2 exams without his ID. This girl in my grade had her period while wearing white pants. We were playing basketball on the schoolyard. We were probably 15 to 16 and the girls were just watching. I noticed it before anyone else. She obviously already knew. But me being a nice guy and feeling bad for her, I gave her my hoodie and just asked her to keep it for me and pretended to put down my phone on the bench where she was sitting and whispered to her that she could use it to tie around her waist to cover it up until she got to the bathroom or got new pants on. No one noticed the gesture. No one ever got to know that she had her period right then and there. She was so unbelievably grateful, and she's now one of my best friends and suddenly a love interest of mine now about a year later or so. To me it wasn't anything special. I have a little sister 3 years younger than me that I've had to care for a lot, so it wasn't really that big of a deal to me, but she acted like I just saved her life. No one knows who except you people, and you have no idea who said it and who it's about. I was working in a call center at the time for a major retailer. An old woman's order got fucked up and never arrived, and it was her only food in her house. This poor old woman was literally subsisting on peanut butter and ramen. When I explained to her what happened and that there was really nothing I could do, and she just went quiet for a second and said that's not fair. So I wrote down her address. I would have gotten fired for that if any higher-ups knew about that, and used a grocery delivery service to get her some food and a chocolate bar. Never told anyone, not even my best friends or family. My friend is an amateur photographer. She finally got to hang some of her work in a local coffee shop. She was pretty down last week, so I went and I bought 2 of the photos. She texted me really excited about the sale and said it turned her day around. I congratulated her, but didn't tell her it was me. Someday she will put it all together if she uses the bathroom at my house. Walking home from school one day in winter. Saw an elderly man fallen on his steps. I went over to see if I could help. Managed to get him back up and into his house. He told me he lived with his kids but they weren't expected to be home for hours. He got lucky if happened to walk by and seen him. I was leaving the hospital to visit my dad. They have a piano on the first floor area of the lobby. This family was sitting across from it and I guess their daughter was sort of timid to go play. Well, in the 30 seconds it took me to walk by, she was playing and I thought it was nice, so as I was walking by I said, "You're doing a great job," and just kept walking. I heard her yell "Thank you so much" at me, so I hope it made her and her family happy. That's it for today. If you have any requests on what kind of Reddit posts you want, please let me know in the comments. Thank you again for watching my video. Have a great day. Yours, Mr. Reddit.